Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Sunday, the official end of my first week, and guess what? I'm not walking today, so I get to rest the feet a little bit. Um, Hopefully, going to be heading out to a church service maybe later on this morning, and trying to relax and enjoy the day and hit the road hard again tomorrow. I wanted to talk about a few things this morning, though, if I could. And I said Sunday was going to be my day of recognizing some folks, and I just posted a picture to my regular Facebook page as well as the Journey page, and it's a group of gentlemen that I've had the pleasure of working with for the last several years that do almost a thankless job, and a lot of times they get very little. It's very tough. It's a very tough job, and I thought I would take an opportunity to maybe give some perspective to some folks too that may or may not understand how some of the business world works in terms of purchasing some items and how they get from the store or the warehouse to your home. So I took a picture. My previous job had been in the warehousing aspect of things. I was an operations manager, location manager, um, general manager in some facilities. But the one that always that I worked with and seemed to come back to was we did home delivery of large product, whether it be appliances or furniture and things like that. And when you think about, um, first of all, how difficult a job that is in itself, the guys that worked for me would lift and deliver upwards of 25,000 pounds of furniture a day in the same heat that I'm just simply walking in, and I find walking difficult. These guys would lift appliances into homes in 3 inches of snow and heat and things like that. And the thing that I think I want to, I want to recognize those specific gentlemen in that picture because our location was number one or two in our division for almost 2 years straight running. And as much as I'd like to say I had something to do with it, I really had nothing to do with it. It goes back to the character of the people, and I always go back to that. I don't really care about race, religion, sexual orientation. I don't. To me, it comes down to there's good people and there's less than good people. I won't say there's bad people, but there's less than good people. And character goes a long way. How you handle yourself in certain situations determines everything. And when you have a very difficult job, it's real easy to want to get. It's really easy to find a reason not to do something. But those folks there went over and above almost any time they were asked. And, I think they would do it for anybody, but I know there's a part of it that they did it for me. Because I think they recognized that one of the things that made me a good manager is that they knew I fought for them pretty hard as well. Probably my biggest strength as well as my biggest flaw as a manager is that I manage personally because I'm passionate about people. So if I've got you and I'm representing you, I'm going to work and fight for you every chance I get to protect you and get you what's yours. And I think they recognize that. So to the gentleman in that picture, Jose, Isaac, Juan, Amador, and Yediel, and Gene, thank you guys so much for everything you did. It truly was a pleasure working with you guys. You made my life much easier than I had at any other location in the same industry. So I have much props for you guys specifically. I also have much props for the industry as a whole because, again, I've been to career days as a kid and I can't remember any 8 or 12-year-old raising their hand and saying, I want to lift appliances or furniture in 100-degree heat. So it takes a special kind of person to do that, and then these people do it day in and day out and day in and day out. And some of the frustrating part for me, trying to protect them, is what I perceive as some of the indifference that gets looked upon with them. As an example, the customer could have agreed to a time delivery between 12 and 3, and we're there at 12:15 within the window, and we get a phone call. Well, they'll be there in 15 minutes, so just wait. Well, these guys don't get paid hourly, and they don't get paid any extra time. And based upon my experience, when a customer or anybody says 15 minutes, they really mean 30 minutes. So now imagine you have other deliveries, you want to get home to your family, and you're asked to wait for no additional compensation 30 minutes. 2 guys, and it's just done with a shrug of the shoulders, and it's just what they deal with, not on an everyday basis, but on a far too frequent basis. Also, they'll go to a customer's home that's not there after they agreed to be there between 12 and 3. They move on, and now, these guys move on to another delivery, and the customer calls up and says, hey, I need you to come back. Or they call the store, and the store says, I need you to go back. Again, these trucks get about 5 miles to a gallon, maybe 6. Diesel fuel is about $4 a gallon. They might be 20 miles away in a 26-foot box truck. So now you got to take 5 gallons of fuel round trip, maybe an extra hour round trip for 2 guys, and nobody ever says, hey, let's compensate them, let's throw them a little bit extra money, let's even say thank you and show up at lunch tomorrow. But yet this goes on so frequently throughout the industry. And the people that do this for a living are probably at home right now shaking their head going, praise on, brother. But this is the kind of thing that goes on, and these guys just take it. And again, it shows a terrific character to be able to do that, to want to make that customer happy, even though they did everything in their power. The other part about these folks is they're not perfect by any means. They damage things, and but to the credit of this team I had, they never shied away from anything that was their responsibility. So they pointed the thumb at themselves all the time, and I give nothing but credit and thanks, and a privilege it was to work with them. But I want to spin this. I do want to come back to one particular gentleman that you saw in that picture, because I think there's a good, valuable story with that. But before I get into that, let me talk about something that you folks might not understand about the industry of big products. So a lot of times you'll go to a big box store, ABC company, right, ABC Depot, and you buy a big television, a big refrigerator, a big couch. And you set up a delivery for that couch to come to your home, and you think that it's ABC Depot that's delivering that couch. Well, ABC Depot contracts with what they call a third party, and that third party might be XYZ Logistics. So XYZ Logistics has, now you've paid a delivery fee to ABC. ABC now pays XYZ. Well, XYZ is for the most part just a middle broker for the most part. They are not doing the delivery. They now contract with the Jim Smiths of the world. They take a Jim Smith and say, hey, guess what? We can give you your own small business. You can get a truck and deliver. We've already made the contact and the contract for you, so now you can deliver for us. So now you've got ABC up here. They charge you a delivery fee. You've got XYZ down here that's taking out their portion of it. And again, this is capitalism. I'm not faulting anybody. And then XYZ is now taking it down a step notch to Jim Smith Trucking. Now, a lot of times, Jim Smith Trucking, in order to survive and make the money that I want to make, if I'm savvy enough to run my business properly, is I might run 2 or 3 trucks. So Jim Smith Trucking might now have, a fourth party down below, and that fourth party might be, John Doe employee. So my point is, when you take a look at what you're purchasing from a delivery fee, it goes to the retailer, to a logistics company, to a fourth party, Jim Smith Trucking, and often Jim Smith will hire an employee. So by the time you get down to that lower level, I can honestly tell you that these folks are lifting 25,000 pounds of furniture, lifting I don't know how many pounds of appliances a day, and they're making about $8 or $9 an hour. And I don't tell you that to make you feel guilty. I don't tell you that for any other reason than to have perspective. That's the way the industry works. Probably, I would guess, 80% of your home deliveries are via a third and fourth party. Even FedEx, a lot of the FedEx home stuff, even though they're a little FedEx truck, they're not FedEx people, they're independent contractors. And that's just the way it is. So I want to give you perspective on that. At the same time, I want to be real fair, right? No one breaks into these gentleman's home and puts a gun to their head and says, you have to come deliver this stuff, right? So it's not like they don't know what they're getting into. I'm just trying to give people a modicum of perspective as to, how hard these guys work and what they deal with on a daily basis when customers say, hey, you know what, can you just go back to that? Can you just go back to that customer that said they would be there and weren't? No big deal. It's in the same county. I can't tell you how many quotes I've had about things like that. Can I just swing by there on the way home? You know, it's not like our guys that work in 12-hour days in 100-degree heat lifted 25,000 pounds of furniture for, you know, what turns out to be $9 or $10 an hour. And for those folks out there, think about that for a minute. Think about if you're a business owner and you're talking about it from a capitalistic standpoint. Think about if you're just an employee. Imagine your boss said to you, hey, you know what? Guess what? Show up at your work tomorrow an hour and a half early, okay? The doors won't be open. They're not going to be locked. You won't be able to do anything but sit in your car. But just sit there for about an hour and a half for no reason at all, right? And we'll just shrug our shoulders. So that's a little bit about what these guys deal with. On a second note, I want to talk about something that I've discovered while walking this highway, a new perspective I've got. Truckers, not the guys that do the home delivery, the over-the-road truckers, got to be one of the hardest jobs in the world. You're away from family. I know how hard that is. They're moving these big rigs. And I know a lot of times to the driver on the road trying to get somewhere fast, too fast, hello, that's probably me, sometimes they feel like a nuisance, you know, hey, come on, get out of the left lane, move over, let me go. But I got so much respect for these guys because as you walk across America, you know, literally I've had shoulders between my backpack where I've had this much room. And these guys handling these trucks, a few times they've come so close the wind is almost knocks me over. But, you know, when you think about this for a moment, when we're on the road and getting frustrated or they're in the left lane, I remember something someone told me a long time ago that stuck out with me, and I kind of remembered on this trip. If it's on a shelf, it was brought there by a trucker. So, I mean, if you think about that for a minute, supermarket, department store, you know, pharmacy, wherever you're at, any product that gets to you pick up off a shelf was brought by a trucker. So, and these guys got to live in the back of their trucks for weeks at a time away from family. I just think it's an extremely difficult job that gets very little thanks, and I wanted to kind of reach out and say thank you to the truckers that have been safe with me and been very cautious with me, and tell them I appreciate what they do. And lastly, I'm going to try to wrap up here quickly. Going back to that picture I sent you of my guys. On the far right is a gentleman named Gene Brown, and I want to call Gene out for something because I think it goes to that we can learn things. So Gene and I have worked together we've known each other over 10 years. And Gene is about as good as it gets in the world of getting the furniture that we would deliver, the appliances, from the dock to the customer's home. Knowledgeable, terrific, shows up on time every day. The problem with Gene, and it's not a problem, the thing about Gene is you gotta fight with him to get him to smile. He looks like Michael Jordan, so he has that charisma, but you gotta fight with him to get him to smile. And sometimes it comes off to some folks as being standoffish, aloof, or whatever. And again, you know, he's working a very hard job, doing a very hard thing. The other challenge I always had with Gene is that for years, if I had asked Gene to maybe go over and above, I could virtually assure you he would do it almost every time. But he knew he was going to do it, I knew he was going to do it, but it didn't stop 30 minutes of bickering, telling me all the reasons why he couldn't do it. And that's what always kind of made me laugh a little bit, because at the end he knew it and I knew it, but we had to waste 30 minutes, you know, dickering around about it. But Gene being a little bit stubborn and hard-headed, and that's not a knock, that's just the way he is, it's not a bad thing. I could try to mentor him or teach him as I went something. And for example, I might point out 5 things, but if I was a little bit off on the details of just one, he would jump on that and defend himself to no end about that I was wrong about that one thing. And I tried to work with him for years and just say, hey, you know, slow down, take a breath, and things like that. Well, earlier this year we had a situation where Gene did 9 out of 10 things right in a situation, but one thing that he could have done and he didn't do was whatever it was, right? So when we were talking about it, I appreciate it. I said, hey, Gene, I appreciate you telling me everything you did. You did everything right. I got your back. Thanks for letting me know. Thanks for communicating properly. I said, but I just wish you had done this one thing. Now, the old Gene, who I've known for 10 years, would have fought me tooth and nail to tell me why he didn't do that one thing and it shouldn't matter, blah, 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 blah. And that's his quote, by the way, blah, blah, blah. That's his favorite quote. But you know, this one time, I almost said, who are you? What'd you do with Gene? He pointed his thumb and he said, yeah, you're right. I could have and should have done that, you know? And it was like the light went off. And after 10 years, you know, it just shows that people can embrace the point of thumb and embrace kind of things and you know, don't give up and things like that. So Gene, I do love you, bud. I know you go through a lot. My time's about to run out. Grace Carolina. Thanks for listening to me. Guys, please appreciate what these folks do out there. They signed up for it. It's not your fault they signed up for that business, but they're very good at what they do. Thank you.